Guys, it's time to come out and say it. WrestleMania 41 is done. It's doomed and it will be garbage. Now, this is mainly talking about the story and the build for Mania, okay? Because there's an outside shot that maybe the matches at the actual show are going to be great. But in all seriousness, if you're the only way that you can outdo a really bad Mania build and a bad feud is if the match is an all-time great match. That's the only way that you can outdo it. You understand? We saw this with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, one of the best women's wrestling matches of all time. So it outshadowed the fact that the feud and the build for that match was garbage. This is how you have to do it. And if you really think that most of these matches are going to go down as all-time great matches, then you're just delusional at that point. You know? Look at last year's event. Look at last year's WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? In every single level, it felt better. The main event scene was much better. Rollins and Drew was a solid feud for the world title that ended up having a really good match. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes Night 2 was a really good match. It was an amazing match, my bad. Had a great moment. One of the most epic sequences in wrestling history, okay? The Night 1 main event, Rock and Roman versus Cody and Rollins, may have had one of the greatest builds ever to a Mania match, and the Mania as a whole had a great build. You know what I'm saying? They had a good theme for it. They had a good presentation with the green colors. The ticket prices were much lower. I went to the Mania, you know what I'm saying? They had a packed out 70,000 people plus all in that arena. You know, this year they can barely sell like 43,000 tickets, I think, for both nights. Like, come on, man. The mid-card scene. You know, after you had that amazing build to last year's Mania with the main event stuff with The Rock, by the way, the final boss gimmick was incredible. It was incredible. Every week you had a reason to tune in. SmackDown was getting the highest viewership it had in many months. You get what I mean? The mid-card division was thriving. You get me? Logan Paul had a really fun and entertaining feud with Randy and KO. The Intercontinental title, you had Gunther going on his 2-year reign and finally losing the belt. The tag belts were defended on a PLE for the last time it was at that time for like 8 months. You know? That was the last time they were defended from then until like, I think 5 or 6 PLEs later. So that's it. You know, the women's feuds, Rhea and Becky is much better than Rhea, Io, and Bianca forced together for a triple threat where Rhea somehow forces her way into the match. You get me? You know, it's just not even close. It's the same thing with Io and Bayley. You know, at least they had some type of story threads. What story threads do Charlotte and Tiffany have? Charlotte's abusing Tiffany on the mic in every single segment, and there's nothing Tiffany can do about it. There's nothing she can do about it. It's just ridiculous, you know? And also that special feeling that a WrestleMania is supposed to have, that aura, that presence, you know what I'm saying? That excitement, that hype that makes you feel like it's a Mania. We just don't have that. You know, we just really don't. And it's as simple as that. Next month's, but you know, Mania is next month. It's in like 3 or 4 weeks at this point, and it feels like just another PLE. It feels like a crown, like a glorified crown jewel with a bunch of matches. And another thing too. Last year, remember during Mania season, how they were like every week they were like, "Wow, this is a sellout." You know, we have a sellout here, the biggest gate. This is our like 19th sellout in like 5 months on all of our live events and our shows. You wonder why? You know, you wonder why. Because The Rock was there, Roman was there every other week at that point, Cody was there every week, you know, as the biggest babyface in the company, Rollins was there week in, week out, you know what I'm saying, wrestling closer to Mania with a freaking torn knee, and he's still out there. Like, well, where they stopped talking about selling out shows, and biggest gates, and selling tickets. Why do you think that is? They were just doing it a year ago, and now they're not. Why do you think it is? The ratings are plummeting on Netflix. You know what I'm saying? They are bottoming out at around 3 million, which is embarrassing for globally. You used to get 8 million in the US, and now you're getting 3 million globally, so enjoy that. And then the fact is, you have the same people as last year. You have Roman still there, Cody's there, Rollins is there, Orton is there, you know, Logan Paul's going to likely be in there, you get me, The Rock is likely going to show up at least at some point, and even with that, you still have John Cena to give you some extra star power as well. Stone Cold will likely show up at Mania 41 for some cameo or something like that. Rhea Ripley's still going to show up, right? She's going to be there too. LA Knight will probably be there, you know what I'm saying? Bianca Belair will be there, and somehow you have all these stars still showing up, and Drew McIntyre's going to be there too, by the way, but he's not a star anymore, he's just a jobber at this point. But you have all these people showing up, the same people from last year that you made a great Mania with, and now you have the same people and you're making a garbage Mania? What happened? What happened, man? You know, and then all it is now is just brawl segments and no creativity. Every single Mania feud this year can just be looked at as, hey, this person beats this person up this week. Then next week, Jay will beat up Gunther. The week after, Gunther beats up Jay. Then Jay beats up Gunther. Then we get a terrible or mediocre promo segment at best, and then we get back to the brawl segments. That's all this is. That's all this is. The best moment for any Mania build was arguably last night's interview with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Because even though Tiffany was terrible in that interview, at least Charlotte Flair, you get what I'm saying, was actually doing something. You know, at least he was contributing. She had some good lines here or there and absolutely exposed Tiffany Stratton for being a rookie champion that has no idea what she's doing on that mic. She has zero idea what she's doing. She's reading off a script while the person she's talking to is grilling her with straight stuff off the dome. You like it just shows you, why is my WWE Women's Champion reading off of a script? Are you kidding me? It's 3 weeks before Mania, and my WWE Women's Champion is reading off of a script, and I'm supposed to believe in her to put on some great feud and a great match. Come on, man. Get real with yourself. And the Brawl segments are basically with everything at this point. Cena turned heel and beat the crap out of Cody Rhodes, you know? Soon we're going to have Penta and Braun Breaker fighting randomly. Roman, Punk, and Rollins last night had a ridiculous Brawl segment after a meaningless promo segment. Like this, it's all the same stuff. It's just Brawl segments. Io, Bianca, and Rhea, Brawl segments. That's it. Jay and Gunther, Brawl segments. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this? And the simple fact is that you have the same people from last year, like I said, okay? And there's no creativity. There's no IG promos, no social media stuff, none of that stuff besides what's happening maybe with Naomi and Jade. Other than that, nobody cares. You know, it's just the same people in the same spots, and nothing is meaningful. You have all these big names. That's all this is just big names and cheap pops. Oh, Stone Cold might be there. The Rock might be there. Cena's there. Roman's there. Punk is there. So Cody's the WWE champion. He's there. Orton's there. That's all it is big names. All these big names, and the fans are still upset with this Mania build. That lets you know everything you need to know. Last year, they were on board with everything, and now they don't care, and they're upset with everything at a creative level and a booking level, you know, in the story level. And it's that simple. Mania is not the same without stories. Every single PLE to be great or amazing, it needs to have stories, it needs to have build-up, and it needs to be sensational. That's how you make a great Mania. You get me? The match part is only part of the problem. How good the matches are, that's part of the issue. But the fact is that this Mania has fallen off a cliff. And this may prove that The Rock is the main driving force, you know what I'm saying, as to why last year's Mania was so good, which he obviously was. You know what I'm saying? He brought the hype. He elevated everything. A rising tide lifts all boats. And The Rock did a phenomenal job with what he was given and with what he gave us. You know, so I don't understand how we got from that, and Triple H was booking the other stuff, then he did a decent job with that, and now he's doing a poor job. And so this is why this Mania 41 looks atrocious. Even Jade Cargill and Naomi last night had their first Brawl segment. You know that's going to continue. You know, and it's just, you look back at what could have been with this Mania. It was very simple. Okay, let's say you know The Rock's not going to be there about 4 or 5 months in advance, which apparently was the reports. He was reported like 3 or 4 months in advance that he wouldn't be at this year's Mania. Okay, so that's that. So if you knew The Rock wasn't going to be there, you could have done Cody Rhodes as WWE champion versus CM Punk, right? Or a heel version of Randy Orton. That would have been great. You know, John Cena versus Gunther, the ultimate test. Cena goes from losing all these matches to maybe winning a couple before getting his confidence up, and then fights Gunther as the ultimate test and wins his 17th championship, okay? Even though, you know, Gunther's, obviously his reign's been trash, at least Cena would have something to strive for, you know, in terms of world championship gold, you know? Then you could have had Roman versus Seth Rollins in a last man standing or an I Quit match to fully close this feud out at a WrestleMania stage. Braun Breaker versus Sheamus, or Braun versus Penta, or Braun versus Penta versus Sheamus for the IC belt. You finally give Sheamus his IC title. You could have had LA Knight not losing to Shinsuke 4 months ago at Survivor Series, and he keeps the belt and maybe finally drops it after like 8 months to Jimmy Uso or Carmelo Hayes, giving them their moment, you know? Or the Street Profits win their tag belts, you know what I'm saying, at Mania, or because they already have them because they had to rush through it, you have them defended against the reunited Jimmy and Jay Uso, the Uso Bros. Because when the Usos are on the mic together, they can actually cut promos and tell stories well, because they bounce off each other well. The Street Profits have charisma. They're very funny and entertaining, as we saw last night with my boy Montez Ford cooking, you know what I'm saying? I'm so glad the Street Profits are getting some shine, don't get me wrong. That's probably my only favorite thing that I like about WWE right now, is the fact that the Street Profits are actually getting the love and the shine that they deserve, because they are great. Please change the entrance theme back to the old one, though. I don't know what the heck that was last night. You could have had Logan Paul versus AJ Styles in just a straight banger match for nothing, or Logan Paul versus Penta in a banger match for nothing, you know? You could have had a women's match with Rhea versus Bianca Belair for the world title. That would have been the biggest women's match we've had at Mania in years, you know? And it would have been, it could have been a decent story, you know what I'm saying? Because they've been the top 2 women for however many years, you know? Well, I mean, at least, you know, top 10 in terms of who's over, I guess, the most, because in terms of actual what's been getting done, because Rhea doesn't wrestle, she wrestles like 5 matches a year, but, you know, anyways, that's not the point. And then that would have been a fun feud, and, you know, a big name feud for the women's. Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany, or, you know, Becky versus Tiffany Stratton, that would have been much better. You know what I mean? Women's tag stuff. You could have had Io and Dakota Kai, or Io reunite with Bayley and beat Liv and Raquel, or Liv and Raquel beat Io and Dakota, whatever you want to do. Do a multi-woman tag match. I don't care. You know, Jade versus Naomi, could have had that in there. But look what we got instead. Drew McIntyre, who was just winning world title gold last year, is feuding with Damian Priest. Huh? That's what we're getting? The women's tag belts likely aren't even going to be featured. You know, Alexa Bliss isn't even going to be featured. This is what we're at now. You know, the women's now is just a forced feud triple threat with Rhea, Bianca, and Io Sky. That makes no sense, and it's absolutely repetitive and already a boring story already. Charlotte and Tiffany is boring. Heel Charlotte is the only thing making that feud minorly watchable now. The Usos, the Jimmy Uso is going to go ahead and do nothing at Mania likely, and then Jey Uso is going to fight Gunther for the world title in what's likely going to be a mid-match to an already awful feud and an awful build. You get me? It's just egregious to me. Cody Rhodes and heel Cena isn't working in my opinion. It's not. Yeah, you're popping ratings and well, you're not even popping ratings. You're popping views on social media segments, which is all WWE cares about. But John Cena's heel turn makes no sense. And I've already broken that down a million times. It doesn't make sense. First off, he turns with The Rock. So is he with The Rock or is he not? There's no mention of The Rock in the first place. Then John Cena gets to a point where he's blaming the fans. The same fans that have supported him heavily for 90% of his career. He's upset because for a few years they chanted Cena sucks. That's it? They were just cheering for you in every single thing you've done in recent memory, but now all of a sudden it's the fans' fault. All they did was take and take and take. Come on, man. John Cena gets a mic thrown in his chest by Cody Rhodes, the same dude he beat up like a month ago at Elimination Chamber, a few weeks ago at Elimination Chamber, and he gets a mic thrown in his chest and does nothing about it? Really? But I'm supposed to believe this is a heel, aggressive John Cena who's given up on himself or given up on the fans, and he's not going to attack anyone? He just sits there? Like, this is embarrassing. Jey versus Gunther is a garbage feud, right? And Roman Rollins and Punk now is just a disaster from top to bottom. Roman Reigns' OTC arc has been atrocious. I love Roman Reigns, one of my favorite wrestlers ever, but this reign and his arc right now is atrocious. It just is. Roman Reigns spent 5 months to get an Ula Fala back from Solo Sikoa. Are you kidding me? Like, this is embarrassing. And he spends 5 months to get the Ula Fala back to just not even wear it. He shows up on Raw a couple weeks ago, doesn't have it. He shows up last night, doesn't have it. And I don't care that, it's used for special occasions, as if it wasn't there for like multiple different regular bloodline segments in the ring. The Ula Fala was present. So there's no way that you're telling me in a scenario that Roman gets the Ula Fala back while having no gold and just has nothing. Roman Reigns is out there in a YTC t-shirt. That's all he's doing. This is embarrassing. This is a dude who just had a 4-year reign that arguably revived the company, and this is the best you can offer with this guy? Not a one-on-one feud with Rollins that could have just been strictly great. We don't have to force any elements in, because Roman was just shaking hands with Punk 4.5 months ago at Survivor Series, or 4 months ago. He was just shaking his hand. There's footage of it. There's images of it. We're seeing it. And somehow you fast forward 4 months, see the elimination, the Royal Rumble is every man for themselves. So Punk has an opportunity to eliminate 2 threats in Roman and Rollins and does it, and now Roman hates CM Punk? It makes no sense. They're forcing stuff together for cheap pops. That's all this is. This Triple H cheap pop booking. The cheap pop, the long game, I can't stop thinking about Punk. Come on, man. Seth Rollins never has anything to do for WrestleMania in the first place. He's always being thrown around in random matches, like a match with Logan Paul a couple years ago. He fights Cody in a meaningless match. He fights Cesaro. It's over. You get me? It's absolutely over. And then you get to CM Punk. His goal and his dream was to main event Mania and win world title gold. And instead, he's going to get, or he might not even get a night one main event. Who knows? But if he gets one, he get a night one main event to fight for nothing. But air. That's all this match is for, is straight air. It's embarrassing at this point. And then Drew McIntyre, I already said again, this dude last year was fighting for world title gold, and now he's doing nothing. And he can't stop thinking about Punk. Come on, man. This is embarrassing. A feud with Damian Priest? Damian Priest? Who thought that this was a good idea? That's what I need to know. What genius thought this was a good idea? So there you go. And the fact is that not only are all these feuds absolute and utter garbage so far, okay, but none of them make any sense. Like I just explained with the Roman Rollins and Punk situation, it doesn't make sense and it has nothing on the line. It feels like there's nothing there. Cody and Cena, let's be real with ourselves, okay? If Cody Rhodes wins this match, it would be one of the worst decisions of all time, and I don't think he's going to because it doesn't make any sense. Why would you have Cena turn heel, right, and have him side with The Rock, allegedly, even though we have no evidence of that, but anyways, you know what I'm saying? Like he hasn't said anything about The Rock since, but let's say Cena sided with The Rock, okay, and that's revealed. Why would you do all of this just for him to lose the match to Cody, and then for us to get another year of a garbage title reign with Cody Rhodes? Like, come on, you're booking yourself into a corner. All of these feuds are a severe downgrade from last year. Look where Drew McIntyre's at. Look where Roman's at. Which, by the way, why does Roman not have a rematch for Cody's belt? You mean to tell me that you have the championship for 4 years so you don't have a rematch clause? Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. And with the favors, right, with this Paul Heyman favor thing is getting overblown out of proportion, and it makes no sense. What favor does Paul Heyman have that John Cena and The Rock don't have? Let's say Paul Heyman attempts to try and, politic his way into getting Punk into the Night 2 main event if he wins versus Roman and Rollins. He wins that match and then goes and fights Cena and Cody Rhodes. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You're telling me The Rock can't just shoot that down immediately? He's the boss of the company, and Cena's siding with the boss of the company. Cena's got one of the most power. He's got the most power in the company. He literally said, hey, I'm going to be in the chamber, and he got a chamber spot without having to qualify. And you mean to tell me that John Cena is in a situation, or not John Cena, Paul Heyman is in a situation where now he has politic power? He has a favor? I have a favor, dude, I have a favor. Come on, man. This is embarrassing. From top to bottom, none of this stuff makes sense. It just really doesn't. John Cena is snooping down to fight Stardust in the main event of WrestleMania. In what world? LA Knight is defending the same belt that he should have never lost in the first place. I'm going to take back my title I never lost, yeah. LA Knight's literally, sitting there with the same exact belt, you get me, that he should have never lost after Survivor Series. It's like, what is this? What progression has LA Knight had in the last year? He went from wrestling AJ Styles in a good match at Mania Night 2, and now all of a sudden he's defending a U.S. belt against probably a bunch of jobbers in a 6-man ladder match. He hasn't done anything. Despite him getting talent, beside all his talents and everything he's doing still being over after all this time with the same gimmick, and he gets nothing but a U.S. title and a slap on the back. Gunther, nothing. 2-year Intercontinental Championship reign, and now he's feuding with Jey Uso and he's going to lose. That's all he's got. The women's division, it's garbage. Rhea Ripley and Io and Bianca are doing nothing. They're doing nothing to elevate this feud. This is garbage. Fans are complaining about Rhea Ripley all over the internet. And then Charlotte and Tiffany is just unacceptable. It just is. It's unacceptable. And like I've been saying, the feuds make no sense, and because of this, they can't get off the ground. It feels like all these feuds are stuck in limbo because you're getting the same brawl segments every week, you're getting the same bad promos every week, and you have nothing to answer for it. Absolutely nothing to answer for it. You can't get me invested in all these feuds when it's the same stuff happening. Oh, this person brawls with this person. Then the other feud, this person brawled with that person. Oh, yeah, and then here's Jey and Gunther brawling. Oh, yeah, and then here's this segment where Roman, Punk, and Rollins are brawling. It's the same stuff. Where is the creativity? There's no creativity anymore. And I just don't understand what happened here and why this turned into a disaster. But what happened is the fans let them get away with mediocrity for so long and never critiqued it, and now it's too late. Now all the fans want to critique it now that it's in Mania season. It's too late now. You're 3 weeks out from one of the worst built Manias of all time, and there's nothing you can do about it. And now you have 0 stories. You have 0 engaging feuds. All you have is big names. That's all you got is a bunch of big names. That's all this Mania is. Hey, here's Cena. Here's Roman. Here's Punk. Here's your WWE champion. Here's Cody Rhodes. Here's a potential Stone Cold might be there. The Rock might be there. That's all you got is nostalgia names. What are your new and current stars going to do to build this feud and build this Mania? What is your current booker Triple H going to do to build this Mania? It's just embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. So there you have it. And then they think that, because you're going to have all these bad feuds, oh, it's okay. These matches are going to be incredible, so it'll make up. No, it's not. Jey Uso and Gunther is going to be incredible. Sheamus or Penta versus Braun Breaker is going to be incredible. It might be, but I doubt it. It might be great, but it won't be incredible. Like what? The Rhea Ripley versus Bianca versus Io is going to be an all-time great match? It can be, but is it? Probably not. Charlotte Flair coming off of an injury with her second match since coming back from injury, and you mean to tell me that her second match in like 17 months off of injury, and you mean to tell me she's going to have a great match with Tiffany Stratton? Really? This is what we're expecting? Jade versus Naomi? You think that's going to be a barn burner banger? Come on, man. Get real. Cody versus an aging Cena who's clearly lost a step in the ring, and that match is going to be what you're hinging on for this to be saved? Get out of my face. Mania 41 is doomed, and it's going to be absolute garbage. It might not be. It has a chance to not be, but let's be real with ourselves. If someone put a money on the line and ask you, hey, do you think money or do you think Mania is going to be good? Yes or no? You're probably going to say no, and it's as simple as that. So, anyways. This Mania, I think, is doomed already. I think it's going to be atrocious. And, yeah, that's just as simple as that. Let me know what you think about Mania 41 in the comment sections below. Have a phenomenal day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out and one love.